Hello everyone, my name is Leah Ramnarine and this is my Multicultural Gourmet presentation. Okay, a little bit of an introduction. The culture that I decided to choose that is different from my own is Asia, specifically Japan. I chose this because of the many varieties of different dishes that Asia offers. I think they're really delicious and it's one of my favorite cuisines. I specifically decided to choose shrimp fried rice. A little bit of the history behind this. It was an extremely popular dish for East and Southern Asia. This dish originally came from the Chinese Sui dynasty in 600 AD. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. From there, a lot of other countries and cultures created their own personalized versions of this dish based on their given agriculture. For example, places such as islands and areas in the Caribbean created their own sort of fried rice using seafood since they're surrounded by the ocean. This is also popular street food in multiple countries all over the world, and it is an extremely easy dish to prepare with a low or high budget. I like making this dish pretty consistently, I would say once a week at least. As a college student, it's a great thing to make. It's really delicious and it will make you full. So let's start with my personalized recipe. I've included a picture of all the ingredients and listed them here. I used jasmine rice, but it's okay to use whatever rice you'd like. I also had a cup of shrimp. I already had this pre-cooked, deveined, and cleaned, just because I think it's a hassle to have to do it after they're cooked. I included mushrooms in my recipe, garlic cloves, 2 eggs, carrots, and seasonings of your choice. I chose soy sauce, teriyaki sauce, rice wine vinegar, sesame oil, onion powder, salt, and pepper. Okay, let's move on to the instructions for this recipe. So I started with adding the garlic to the pan. I poured in a little bit of sesame oil, let it cook on a simmer on about medium heat, and then once the garlic started to brown and get a little color in it, I added in the shrimp first. I personally like to add the shrimp first because they may take the longest to cook. Although it was already pre-cooked, which I do just for health reasons because I would prefer not to eat raw shrimp. So yeah, you're gonna put the shrimp in first. Next, I shaved in some carrot slices and added that to the pan as well, along with sliced up portobello mushrooms. I went ahead and seasoned that. I added a little bit more of oil. I added some butter as well. Completely unnecessary. I just like the flavor that it adds. And then I also added the powdered seasonings like the salt and pepper and the onion powder. You can also add garlic powder as well if you do not have garlic cloves that you can dice up. And I would just let that simmer for about 5 minutes or so, just until the vegetables become a lot more soft. The next step is to add to add the rice. I prefer for the rice to be about a day or 2 old. I've learned this from many different Chinese chefs and Asian chefs that adding rice that's a little bit older will create more of like a crispy texture with the rice, because if you cook the rice immediately, it'll tend to be a lot softer, which will still end up being a great dish, but I personally like my rice and my meal as a whole to be a little bit on the crispier side. Next, I used my spatula and I created a little hole in the center of my dish on the pan, and there I cracked in 2 eggs. You can add as many eggs as you want. I like adding a lot of eggs to my pan, or to my fried rice. I let that cook for a little bit in the center and then slowly started to scramble it with the spatula. I personally don't like to mix the eggs into the rice because I feel like it'll make it a little soggy. So I wait for the eggs to cook pretty well in the center of the pan before going ahead and mixing it in as so. The next step is just plating. I like to use quite a large plate just because it creates less of a mess, and yeah, just makes the presentation look very pretty. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed.